Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi wa ala alihi. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. نويت والتعلم وتعليم وتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والفائدة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة إلى الخير وابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته سبحانه وتعالى. Alhamdulillah, this is the first of our lessons on the book Kitab Fadail al-awqat by Imam al-Bayhaqi. And inshallah, over the next few lessons, or the next few sessions, we will cover the main content of the text. But for today, inshallah, our plan is to talk a little bit about the book in a general sense, talk a little bit about the title, and perhaps read from the introductions that were written for this English edition by my teachers, who were kind enough to write a few words as a preface to the text. So going to the book is called Fadail al-awqat, and it's been translated into English as the blessings of specific times. And it might be worth here reflecting on the Arabic title for a few moments. Fadl or Fadail usually is translated as the virtues or the benefits or the blessings, but it might be worth, as we always do when we look at Arabic words, it might be beneficial, might be worth looking at the roots of this word. And the root of the word Fadail is either Faddala or Faddila. They're both with roughly the same meaning, and they're both, well, they're the root of this word, and they mean or have a series of meanings. One is to surpass, to exceed, to go beyond the normal limits. So when somebody is in a state of has a fadila, they have this fadila, this excellence, because they surpassed the norm, or they excelled, they went beyond what was expected. And its meaning is connected to zada, or it's synonymous with zada, meaning to increase. In this sense, it means to increase, and it's the opposite of naqs, fault, or to decrease, or have a fault. So here it means to increase. It also means to remain, and this is interesting because when we say fadala or fadila with the meaning of baqiya, meaning to remain, we should reflect on the story of the Prophet ﷺ when he was gifted a sheep as charity, and then in exchange as a result of this, he then gave it to the poor, and he asked his wife Sayyidatuna Aisha radiallahu anha to distribute the meat to the poor. So she distributed everything. When he came back, he asked Sayyidatuna Aisha radiallahu anha, what remains? And she said, I kept, or what remains is the shoulder or the shank of the animal. And to which the Prophet ﷺ replied, no, the only thing that has gone is the shoulder, and what remains is everything else. What he means by this, what remains is that which is then going to be transferred to the next world. That is what remains, because that will count Yawm al-Qiyamah, whereas what we eat from the sheep is for us, and that's only for this dunya. So here, when we look at the word, or the title, Fadail al-awqat, is that which will remain beyond the time that we're given. So this is a book about how to help us to understand the benefit of time, but even looking at the title, you see that it's to do with taking advantage, excelling in that time, and also the one of the meanings of this is to be superior, to go one above everything else, as we said, to exceed. It also means to overpower, to conquer, and this is interesting and it's important. There's a famous Arab poem which it's appropriate to refer to here, where the poet said, وَجَدْنَا نَشْحَلًا فَضَّلَتْ فُقَيْمَةً, that we found the tribe of Nashhal, they had overpowered the tribe of Fuqayma. So he uses the word Fadalat. So here, Fadala means to overpower, to overcome, to master, to take advantage of, to conquer. So when we talk about Fadail al-awqat, or you could translate it a number of ways, is to excel within time, to take advantage of time, to conquer time, to overpower time, to have time remain, have time go on forever. So all of these words are appropriate meanings for this word fadala, and therefore it helps us to understand what Imam al-Bayhaqi was thinking when he entitled this book, or he gave the title to the book. Now, all of these are to do with fadala, all of them are to do with overflowing, to do with being limitless. Now the word waqt is usually translated as time, but it comes from the waqta, means to determine, to fix, to define something. So here it's the exact opposite of fadala, which means to overflow, to expand, to go over, to pour out. The opposite of this would be to limit, to restrict, to refine, to define and refine. And we see this in the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and when the time of the messengers, when the messengers will have their appointed time, ukkitat, that they will have it fixed for them. And also it's connected to the word miqat. The miqat is that place which it's fixed for a particular point, or for a particular event. So the miqat of the Hajj is a place where you can't go over, or can't surpass, can't go beyond, without entering into the state of ihram. So waqt is that which is defined, is refined, is specific, fixed. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has fixed time so that we can take advantage of it and allow it to overflow in our lives. And that's why this whole concept of the concept behind this book is how to see this limited thing become unlimited. How to see that time can be used to allow you to live forever, so to speak, and or to defeat time, or to overcome time, or to overpower time. And that refers to one of the, or gives us an idea of one of the famous Arab customs, or Arab phrases, sayings, idioms, where it said, al-waqt kas-sayf, in lam yaqta'hu qata'ak. He says that time is like a sword. If you don't cut it, if you don't cut it, it will cut you. If you don't overpower it, in other words, if you don't take advantage of it, it will overpower you. And that's why we need to make sure that we understand and we see the value of it, which reminds me of another famous Arab proverb, so to speak, is where al-waqt ka-dhahab. The waqt is like gold, and the Arabic word for gold is dhahab. Al-waqt ka-dhahab. In lam tastafid bihi dhahaba. And if you don't take advantage of it, it's gone. And dhahaba and dhahab are connected in this sense. And so these ideas of how time should be used is really the essence of the book. And this is common to all cultures. And I was brought up with Bruce Lee films, so it would be appropriate to quote Bruce Lee. And he said, "If you love life, don't waste time, for time is what life is made up of. If you love life, don't waste time, for time is what life is made up of." And so it's common to all cultures, all spiritual cultures, all cultures that understand the value of life, that will make you understand the value of time. And that's why this book is such an important text. And with that, I think I will refer to the text and start reading a little bit from the introduction, or the introductions that written, as I said, by two of my teachers. The first of which is Shaykh Afifuddin al-Jailani, the great descendant of Shaykh Abdul Aziz al-Jailani and his representative in his time. He wrote in the introduction to the text, he says, "We, as believers, know with certainty the importance of time in our lives. For Allah, the Transcendent and Exalted, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has made this clear in the noble book by His glorification of time and expounding upon its value." So what he's saying here is that the Quran refers to time over and over again. And he says he swore oaths by portions of the day and night to show us the importance of those portions. So he says, "Wal asr," swearing by the mid-afternoon, "Wal layli, was-shamsi wa-duhaha," and the sun as it rises in the mid-morn. So these portions of the day, the night, the mid-morn, the afternoon, all of these portions of the day are given oaths, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears oaths by these specific portions. And then he poses this point, Shaykh Afifuddin, he poses this point, as this is the case with portions of the day, then what of its entirety? So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears an oath to show the greatness of the night, or of the afternoon, or of the morning, then what of the whole of time? We can't even contemplate that. He says He transcended it. He swears by the dawn, another occasion by the mid-morning, and elsewhere by the last part of the night. All of these indicate the importance of specific times by which we attain His pleasure. Indeed, Allah has established worship, such as the 5 daily prayers, the fast, the pilgrimage, and all the other forms of worship, within specific times. So worship is intrinsically connected to time. So if you want to have a connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can't have that connection unless you have an awareness of time. And that's why this book is so important, is because it's all focusing our mind on how to take advantage or how to understand time. The Messenger, upon him be peace, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, said about the prayer when asked which act is most beloved to him, he says, "Ayy amal ahabba ilayhi," which action is the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He says, al-awqat, he said, as-salah fi waqtihi, and in another version, salah ala waqtihi, as prayer in its time, or prayer upon its time. And this is why we must plan our time and take full advantage of the days of our lives before they end. As the phrase says, time is like a sword, if you don't cut it, it will cut you. As it is said, there are only 3 types of day. The first is the day that has passed, and all that is left of it is recompense. The only thing that's happened, the value of what's gone by, ma baqiya, is the jaza, is the reward. And that's why they're going back to the word Fadail. Fadail is connected to the concept, or the verb, baqiya, to remain. What remains of your past? Nothing. Unless there is some value in the actions that you did, and you will be rewarded for those. Some people remind us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He forgives and wipes out what has happened. But some scholars have said, but remember, you still lost the time. So if you wasted your time in ignorance or doing wrong things, and then you make tawbah from it, Allah wipes out those bad actions, but the time is lost. And that's what the past is like. And the second day is the last day, Yawm al-Qiyamah, which is the awaited day that is before us. This we have no control over. So when somebody asked the Prophet ﷺ, Mata as-sa'a, when is the final hour? His reply was was, وَمَا عَدَدْتَ لَهَا, what have you prepared for it? So it's not about when it is, because that's not in your hands. But what is in your hands is how your preparation for that final hour is. So the first day is the day that's passed. The second day is the day that's gone. The second day is the last day, Yawm al-Qiyamah. Once we have, which is the awaited day that is before us. This we have no control over. Once we have taken our steps upon it, we do not know where we will end up. We don't know whether we will be in a good state, or whether we'll be in wretchedness, whether we'll be Sa'id or Shaqi. we don't know whether we will find ourselves full of joyfulness or endlessly empty. So we don't know about Yawm al-Qiyamah. We don't know what that day is going to be about. So worrying too much about the past or worrying too much about Yawm al-Qiyamah will mean that we don't focus on that. The third day, which is the day we are presently in. The third is the day we are presently in it. It is an opportunity to attain both the good of this temporal world and of the eternal world. And that's what Shaykh Afifuddin had said in his introduction to the book. And that reminds me of a phrase or a saying in English which tells us to think about yesterday is the past, tomorrow is the future, and today is a gift. And that's why we call it the present. So this is the present, meaning this is something that we should relish, we should think about as being valuable. And if we understand that, we will inshallah understand the importance of living this moment to its full advantage. And so they were the words of our teacher, Shaykh Afifuddin al-Jailani. And following on from that, I'd like to finish this short introduction with a few words from another of my teachers who also wrote an introduction to this book. He said, again following on from what Shaykh Afifuddin has said, he swore an oath by the mid-morn, by the dawn and the 10 nights. In all of this, he, the transcendent one, is the one who facilitates closeness for his slave and is the opener of the doors of gnosis. He is the one who pours upon his blessings, pours upon him his blessings and his satisfaction. He gives him his rida, Allah's satisfaction, and his barakah, the one who makes manifest the lights of his proximity and is the one who throws to him the secrets of his mercy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to whom he wishes, whenever he wishes. So he increases in love and happiness with his Lord whenever he exposes himself to the breezes of his proximity, stands before him, humbles himself before him, adulates him, reads his verses and tastes the subtleties of intimate discourse with him and receives his beautiful reply. So here, Imam Shaykh al-Ninawi, what he's saying is that if you want to have those gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you need to expose yourself to those opportunities. And you don't know when those opportunities are going to be unless you study what the times that he has chosen to give those gifts to us. Whoever tastes knows, and whoever knows increases and drinks more. And the more you understand time, the more you will want to take advantage of it. Allah has blessed those moments because it is in them that he sends his mercy and his breezes so that we can direct ourselves towards him. He ordered us to be sincere in these moments so that we can witness him. He repeats and increases his bounty at these times so that we can realize through the light of his attributes. There is no known limit to his generosity during these nights and days so that he may gather us at the well of his essence. With this, he called us to the importance of time, its limits and its immense value, and warned us about its loss. And Allah has sworn an oath, Wal Asr, Inna al-insana lafi khusr. By time, indeed humankind is in a state of loss. And then he explained that the exceptions to this loss are those who understand the value of time and use it to express faith and righteous deeds. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Except those who believe and do righteous actions, for they will receive a reward unfailing. So here, both of these two great teachers, may Allah preserve them and guide us by them, have given us this brief introduction, and inshallah in further lessons we'll continue with this explanation of what the book is about, and embark on the study of this very important text. Jazakumullah khairan wa assalamu alaikum.